Taking off the gloves, I've had enough. It's in my blood. I was born for this.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor. Welcome to Week 13 preview. We are here, Tom. We're going to talk about the spreads, the matchups, the preview of fantasy football spin, getting you guys ready for NFL Week 13. Week 12 was a crazy one. We'll touch a little bit on that. But, Tom, are you ready for Week 13?
Yeah, we haven't even finished week 12 yet. Got a game tonight. I don't really want to talk about it. We talked about it last week. We spoke about the Steelers and the Ravens. I think RG3's playing. But, I think the Steelers are going to take it and, put them in position to be 11-0. But, we spoke about that game last week. Obviously, things have changed. It was supposed to happen on Thanksgiving. Now, with the whole mess of what's going on with the pandemic, we're going to see, if the Steelers can notch one more win. But, we spoke more about it last week.
Yeah, looking at the power rankings, it looks like maybe the Steelers, the Chiefs are at the top of that, but they got to come out here today strong against the Ravens. Again, I don't want to talk too much about that game. A lot of people will be watching this on Friday and Saturday after this Wednesday game is over, but we are recording this on Wednesday. So in regards to that game, though, I got to go Steelers here. Is it going to be a 10-point plus win? That's a little questionable. I'm going to say yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's in Pittsburgh, I think, but I think Pittsburgh's in better shape. Ravens are missing a bunch of players. They should win big on this one.
Yeah.
Steelers on our team to blow many teams out, but the Ravens don't have a great offense this year.
No.
And their defense has to keep them in it. But I think the Ravens offense, it's really going to come down to the Steelers defensive line like it does a lot because they're so good. But the Ravens offense can't put a lot of points up. So without Lamar Jackson, I don't really see any magic happening. So
especially against a tough defense too. So if they're already struggling, then you tack on the fact that, hey,
this brings the Ravens, like I told you before, they've always been overrated. This will bring them to 6-5 if they lose today. They're not in the playoffs right now. That's a dangerous game to play. They have an easy rest of the schedule after this. Cleveland's ahead of them 8-3, and they have a lot more difficult. Just same as the Dolphins at 7-4 sitting there. We could talk about the playoffs later, but remember we said the Dolphins will probably be 8-4. They'll beat the Jets and I think they're playing the Bengals, but they'll beat they'll win 2 of these games. And then what's going to happen after that? Then they got, a really hard schedule, both of those teams. So, we're not done yet.
Right. So, guys, also, I want to note here, there's the power rankings. We're going to talk about the power rankings at the end of the show, and we're going to go through the matches. And we typically go from the 1 o'clock games at work all the way to the end here. Starting off today, we're going to start off with the Saints and the Falcons. There's a 1 o'clock game there. And then, again, the power rankings. We're going to talk about that briefly at the end of the show as well. Tom, also, I don't know if you've been using it yet, but Christmas is around the corner. Manscaped.com. Use your trimmer to shave your balls and don't have to cut yourself. Use the Lawnmower 3.0. Head on over to manscaped.com. Remember, Tom, you used it. Use promo code Shower Lion because I know you're a Shower Lion too, Tom. I know you are. Don't lie to me. You're a Shower Lion at manscaped.com. Save some money and get your lawnmower. They also got ball wipes and other cool products, including a weed whacker for your nose hairs. You're going to be all groomed up. Look at Tom. He's already groomed up already. You're already set.
Already set.
You ready for you got a date tonight or what?
For what?
You got a date tonight?
Nah, probably the game's on at 3:30, I think, or 3:40. I'm gonna watch the game, relax if I can, and no, I'll watch the game. And then listen, it's an interesting week because we don't have a Thursday night game, but we have next week Sunday games, 2 Monday games, and a Tuesday game. And we got Tampa and Carolina on a bye, but we have 2 Monday night games coming up. Pittsburgh got moved to Monday, and the Ravens got moved to next Tuesday. So I like those Tuesday games, those Wednesday games. I like it.
But again, they're not going to be exciting ones. Buffalo and 49ers should be good because we saw the 49ers beat the Rams. So we'll talk about that. That's the only one I'm kind of looking forward to. And a Steelers blowout against Washington. That should be entertaining to watch as well, I think.
Yeah. Washington, I said before, Giants were playing the best football in that division, and now they lost Daniel Jones, I think, for a period of time. But
yeah.
Washington, Alex Smith, we said that's the best QB on the roster if he can be, somewhat close to healthy, and they're playing better. Now, but it's still the NFC East. The Giants barely beat the Bengals. Washington is playing tough, and that could be a trap game for Pittsburgh. I don't know if maybe there's never a trap game for Pittsburgh, but a short week, right?
Right.
Washington, Alex Smith, if he drops 300 on them, if they got a decent, some decent players around, it could be one of those games. Could be.
All right. Well, let's start off with the Saints and the Falcons. Now, the Falcons have been that weird team. I mean, they're the 3-point underdog here versus Saints. They've got the better quarterback, the better situation there. If Breeze continues to be out, I don't care about Taysom Hill. I don't care that he's been winning. I don't really care about that. I care about the fact that he's not a true quarterback. Matt Ryan is. And you say, oh, well, how is Taysom not a true quarterback? He's just not. I don't care what anyone says. He's a Tim Tebow 2.0. I'm not really sold on him. So when I look at this matchup here, I can't believe last week, man, the Falcons we were talking about the Raiders possibly being top 5 in our power rankings had they been consistent and continued to string on some wins here. Because I remember they beat the Chiefs earlier in the season, right?
And lost to them by about a couple points at the last of the game.
And then gets blown out against the Falcons. They can't get a Derek Carr fumbling multiple times. Jacobs not getting in the group. I mean, I'm not so. This was a big turnoff to me in regards to Raiders being a contender this year. A huge turnoff. And the Falcons, I mean, there was so much potential with this team. I don't think they really got going. They are playing the state 3-point underdog here. I mean, I'm taking the points here at the Falcons. That's what you would think, but you never know. They're going to probably come out and get blown out with the Saints for all we know, right?
And you look at this a couple different ways. I mean, yeah, the Raiders, I mean, they screwed me. I thought they were going to come out and win big. It's almost like they got a moral victory against the Chiefs, and this was their letdown game against the Falcons. But it wasn't even a letdown game. They got blown out 43-6. I mean, it was terrible. But then you got two teams right here coming off big blowouts, the Falcons and the Saints. Now, the Saints played a team quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and they were held in, I mean, it was close the first, second quarter. I just think after a while, I don't want to say Denver gave up, but they just knew they didn't stand a chance. And I don't think it really was it was as bad as the score because they didn't have a quarterback, but I don't think it would have been that bad if Drew Lock was there, moving the ball, keeping the D off the field, stuff like that, because Denver's D isn't terrible. The Falcons, like you said, I mean, what do the Falcons do? They come back and they played without Gurley. They played better without him. He's having a good year running the ball, especially the last 5 games. But the week before, I thought they were going to play the Saints a little bit better, right? They just played the Saints and they lost 24-9.
Yeah.
Right. And I was disappointed. I thought they were going to come back, and they've been better under this new coach. The problem is they still, in my mind, don't have a great defense, but he's got the defense playing better. The offense, they were without Julio, without Gurley, which doesn't matter right now.
No.
Their offense was clicking. It was good. I don't think it was as bad as the score because, like you said, the Raiders turnovers. But, this is the second time in 3 weeks these two teams play, I believe.
It's been weird. There's been a lot of weird scheduling. Like I said, the Colts playing Tennessee a couple of times and teams playing each other back and forth. Hey, did we not just go over this again earlier? Right? What? It's like we didn't go over that earlier. Like the matches are happening like right after each other. Playing
the Texans play the Colts this week and they play again in 2 weeks. It's crazy. I don't know, but the Falcons and Saints, I want to see the Falcons. Every time you think, they have a big win, they just have a letdown and they lose by a couple touchdowns. Like that seems to be who they are. Yeah. Taysom Hill's playing well. And I read that Sean Payton, when they found out they didn't have the quarterback, they wanted to run the ball a little bit more and change the game plan. He still doesn't have a passing QB. It's going to come down to when the Saints are trailing by double digits. That's what happens with Lamar Jackson. That's what happens with a lot of these quarterbacks that run the ball more. When it comes down to you're trailing by double digits, do you trust Taysom Hill to drop back and sling it? I don't. So I was surprised they went with him over Jameis, even though he's getting paid, a lot of money, Taysom Hill. So I think if the Saints, I think they still think they can come out in this game and control the ball. They'll probably stay ahead, but if the Falcons can somehow get a little bit of a lead, I think you're going to see the Falcons probably, I don't want to say run away with it, but have a much better showing than you think.
I mean, what about the buzzkill for fantasy? I talked about Taysom Hill being an absolute buzzkill for Alvin Kamara and the other guys. So yeah, if you own Taysom Hill, good. But if you own Kamara, he's really screwed his fantasy value. I hate him. He's a pest. I want him to go away.
I'm more worried about Michael Thomas. I mean, he's an excellent receiver, but you need to drop back and throw him the ball. I think his is worse.
Yeah.
Kamara, but he's never been that consistent,
right?
With anybody. So does Taysom Hill affect him? Yes, it's not a good effect, but I've never been super happy with Kamara as an every game player, and I'm not a fantasy expert, but just you see Kamara and you see flashes, and then you see him disappear in the fourth quarter, then you see him disappear the next game. So that's been consistent throughout his career. Seasons. Last season, he was supposed to be remarkable, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know injuries play a part, but there's these guys that, if you don't do it on a game-to-game basis, sometimes you got to blame the guy. Right. And I understand sometimes it's the coaching and stuff like that, but Murray got a lot of carries last week, right?
Yeah.
Murray.
Yeah, he's getting some work as well. But again, it's all I'm saying is that Kamara's buzz has been killed since the start of Taysom. That's all I got to say about that. I want to talk about this one here, the Bears and the Lions here. Bears being the favorite. Let's talk about Mitch Trubisky. He comes in. We thought he'd have more upside. 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions last week, 242 yards. Looked like crap. Mitch Trubisky, this is your opportunity to shine. You were basically ridiculed. You were benched. You were supposed to be the starter, the guy, the franchise guy. You come out, you shit the bed. I don't know what to tell you, man. Mitch Trubisky, here's your opportunity. You shit the bed. The Bears are pretenders. They suck. They're not a good team.
Oh, they're in the playoff hunt. Believe it or not, they're a game out, I believe. But here's the thing. They score more points with Trubisky. They scored 25 points.
Right?
They will score more, but he did have those 2 turnovers. I don't know. Foles can manage the game better, but Trubisky can sling it better. And he's going to have, they played the Packers, who are a better team. So I think what I didn't like about last week, Nagy is blaming the players, saying they need to show up.
Right.
You just got a GM in Jacksonville fired, right? And they should fire the coach too. And then you got the Lions fired Patricia and Quinn.
Yeah.
What's Chicago? They need to clean house here. This team is built like shit. They're not performing. The play calling has been questionable at best all year long. And he's got the nerve to call out his players.
He's the one that's the problem. Nagy's got to go. And how many have they lost in a row? I think they've lost 5 or 6 in a row. Have they not?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row they lost. They were 3-0, and that was all under Trubisky. I don't know who gives them the best shot to win. The problem that I didn't like, their defense didn't show up last week, and that was the first time their defense really didn't show up this year.
Right.
And that was more disappointing to me. They kept letting Green Bay score because they kept themselves in the game. They only lost by a couple scores, which is a lot, but I feel like the defense was more at fault last week. He's
been Swiss cheese. Jacksonville put up 20 points against them week 10. Indy 34 points against the Packers. Like the Packers give up a lot of points. So I don't know if I want to really credit Trubisky on putting up these points, but mind you, I think he still would have done better than Foles. That's for sure.
Yeah, Foles isn't going to put up points, and the problem is they struggle putting up points. And when you have this defense that can keep you in games, not this week, you need to be able to score. Like Trubisky came back in the fourth quarter, week 1 against the Lions. I know he won week 2 against the Giants. I know they almost blew it. They beat the Falcons. They came back right in that 30-26, and then all of a sudden he's bent. I think he was benched at that one or the Colts one. I'm not sure, and they were in some games. They beat Tampa 20-19, and then they beat the Panthers and they lost 5 in a row. But they put up 10 on the Rams. It's just you need to score points,
right? 100%.
And Trubisky, would you take his turnovers and bad throws in exchange for an extra touchdown a game? At this point, when you're the Bears, I think you have to.
I think you have to. I think you need those extra points on the board. You need that little push on the end. I think Trubisky's a better option than Foles because we know that you need more points on the board. We've seen that. So yeah, this one again, Detroit. Stafford's just not a guy that's
New coach.
Yeah, still, I don't know, man.
They're going to play better for him because nobody liked Patricia. Nobody's liked him in that team. So I can see Detroit coming out firing. The over-under is 45. That's pretty high for a Bears. For a Bears game.
I'm picking Detroit to cover this one, I think.
Yeah, I think Detroit can come out. The Bears don't look good. Detroit, they were 4-5. They clawed their way back up to 4-5. Remember? Then they just lost the 2 in a row, and Patricia's gone. I just think they're going to be a little bit better. But the problem with Detroit is the injuries. No DeAndre Swift sometimes, no Galladay. When they have their full offense, they're going to compete.
Yeah.
They're going to. They've been banged up this year.
Always banged up. Let's move on here. Houston having a good win against Detroit. Speaking of Detroit, Houston won.
Yeah.
Indy actually lost significantly, 45-26 to the Titans. And I called that when I thought the Titans would win. And now Indy, again, this is the weird thing. You would technically think divisional game, though, Houston kind of hotter, Indy on the downtrend. Technically, Houston could be considered the favorite here, but no, Indy is. And I think they're predicating that on, the season, the 7-4, 4-7 records, right? Obviously, Indy with the better record. Indy a 3-point favorite here. It is a divisional game. I think Houston is playing good, right? I think Houston covers the spread.
Yeah. They was the line. I don't think moved. They just lost a starting DB and Bradley Roby, who hasn't played that. They lost Fuller, who, I mean, you can say he's their number one over Cooks, right? Yeah. So that's going to hurt them. But it's kind of funny because Houston's won a couple games in a row. They're 4-7. They're not out of it yet. And I think if they can beat the Colts 2 out of the next 3 weeks, their destiny's in their hands, because that's a tough part of their schedule. And the Texans, remember, they had a horrible schedule to open up the season. Their strength of schedule.
They did, yes.
Yeah. Right. So, but I think they're going to miss Fuller. And the problem is the Colts. Listen, the Colts and Titans, they win one, lose one. I don't know. Remember, Phillip Rivers, like, you can't count on him every week, especially. They could not come back. Tennessee manhandled them, but Indy had some injuries. They had no Jonathan Taylor, who they need to succeed. They need a running game to keep the pressure off of Rivers, right? Yeah. And then they had Buckner on their D-line was going. It was just the writing was on the wall for Tennessee to win that game and run all over them, and they did. And that's the thing. They couldn't come back. The Texans, I kind of like the Texans in this game, and I'm going to go with them. I think they're on a roll. Deshaun Watson's on a roll. I just hope they don't miss Fuller. And they released Kenny Stills.
Yeah, Kenny Stills was useless. That guy has brick for hands.
I don't think they would have released him, Joe, if they knew about the suspension.
Right, with Fuller. So Fuller, if you guys haven't heard, performance-enhancing drugs. I mean, he had a couple good games. We did see him do well when he was touching the ball. Do you think that was, because of the performance-enhancing drug? Do they make that much of a difference? You've worked with athletes.
Yeah, but listen, I've heard some things on Fuller already. They heard it was some experimental stuff. I don't know if it was recovery. You got to remember, Fuller's always struggled to stay healthy. So I don't know if this was something to help him recover more or not. Him and Roby obviously took the same thing, it seems like, from what I heard. But now, of course, they make a difference, but it matters what it is. You have some guys that are just plain idiotic sometimes, and they'll take something from GNC that doesn't even matter, that's on the banned substance list. Right. It's really easy to see what's banned and what's not, but there's some things that do matter. And when it comes to recovery and some other illegal substances, listen, if you jack yourself up on steroids, yeah, it's going to help you, and that's illegal. But if you take some little pill that's kind of more like a vitamin at GNC that's on the list that doesn't do anything, that's not going to help you. The thing with the NFL is they don't say what the substance was. So we don't know what they took.
What if it's like a hard drug? I mean, you never know.
That's under a different policy now. That's under the substance abuse policy.
Okay.
So that's like substance abuse drugs like heroin, cocaine, even marijuana is under that policy. This is performance enhancing anything. I mean, I don't want to talk about it forever, but there's drugs like Adderall, which was on the performance enhancing, even though that's more substance abuse for people. So, because Adderall, makes you focus, because you can take that to help you focus, help you for things when you're not supposed to, but people also take it to drink and abuse it. So that's really under both, but I don't know what it is this year, but for years past, it's always been under the performance enhancing.
Now for Scarface, the substance abuse for Scarface worked well. If you guys seen Scarface, that was performance enhancing. You know how many bullets it took to try to take that guy down? So you never know, right? But yeah, I know what you mean. Performance enhancing, substance abuse, different things.
Like there's certain little things like that are illegal for you and me to take that they can't take. But I don't know. I heard it was some type of experimental thing. I heard it was something along those lines from an IV or something, but I don't, which would mean it might have helped, especially if it helps with recovery. Because if you think about it, like I just said, and I'm going to repeat it, Fuller is never healthy. So if you're struggling to stay on the field, you're in a contract year, you're going to do what you can to stay on the field.
But don't they know they're getting tested? Okay, I'm taking this. There's a chance they're going to test me, or is the test randomized?
The test is very random, number one. And it can happen anytime. But number two, they could have been told, and I heard they got it from somebody, that it was fine. Some players don't listen and they don't check it up. Or somebody will tell them, listen, it'll be out of your body in a couple days. And what are the chances of getting tested in a couple days?
Right. All right, we got to move on here. Now, I'm very disappointed in this matchup. Raiders versus Jets. Raiders 7.5-point favorite. And shame on the Raiders. Raiders, 43-6 to the Falcons. You and I can go out there. You play quarterback, Tom. I'll play wide receiver. We get a couple other slouches and armchair quarterbacks. And I think you and I, honestly, this is not a joke. I'm not joking. This is dead serious. I think you, me, and a bunch of you listeners together could have combined for more than 6 points. Shame, 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 shame. That's all I got to say. Now they're playing the Jets. I hope they lose. I hope the Jets get their first victory in this game against the Raiders. I hate the Raiders. The hell with Derek Carr. He's overrated.
Yeah, I don't think it. I think the Raiders come out and win. Gruden's an excellent coach, excellent play caller. They were in the game for a little bit, and they just, Atlanta just kept scoring, and then they kept turning the ball over, the Raiders. I don't think anything's going to happen in this game to put the Jets on top. Listen, the Jets are the odds of them going 0-16. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, hard to do that. So, but they're so bad. I mean, they lost. The Dolphins didn't play good at all last week, and they beat them 20-3. So, I mean, the Raiders, I think Jacob should be healthy. I mean, I just think they're a much better team. If you were talking about the Bengals and the Jets, then maybe you got something to talk about.
Right.
But, I mean, the Raiders are just a better football team. They're going to put a lot of points on the board, and I mean, they should cover this by, more than the 7.5.
They're going to win. All right. And it's a redemption game. They're angry, obviously, because they played like.
Hope so. I mean, you would hope so, but we've seen stranger things this year. We see teams like the Rams, they got a good win. They're going to stay even with the Seahawks. Then they drop a bomb to the nursing home 49ers.
Yeah, I don't understand that. We thought that was almost not a lock, but we thought the Rams. I mean, it was a divisional game, so you got to think about it. But that was a shock too.
Well, if anything can happen, listen, and it sucks because the Jets are so bad. I mean, do you really picture Frank Gore rushing for 220 yards and carrying the Jets over the Raiders? But if the Jets had like a Joe Mixon or something, you can see that happening. They don't have anybody.
They don't have a bright spot.
I mean, what Darnold to Mims or something like that? I mean, for maybe he has like 250 yards receiving, 4 times. Like you just don't like if Joe Mixon or even Alex Smith and McLaurin, they could put up massive points. Like just have a lifetime game. You don't see that with Frank Gore in the backfield. You don't see that with Mims. You don't see that with Perryman. You just don't see it in New York, especially with Adam Gase. I don't know if he's still calling the plays or not. He's like saying he is. He's saying he's not. He's saying
it's anticlimactic. That's all we got.
Anyway,
this next matchup, I'm really looking forward to this, man. Honestly, Cleveland versus Tennessee. What are your thoughts there?
We spoke about this last week on the quality of wins for teams, and you're starting to see that come into existence. Cleveland has a really hard schedule to end the season. They have the Titans, the Ravens, Giants, Jets, okay, winnable. Then the Steelers. They're 8-3. Okay. You really need to eke out 2 wins out of that to get to 10. And I think they can. But the problem is Cleveland got manhandled by the Ravens 38-6 early in the season. They lost to the Raiders 16-6 and in a bad weather game. They got crushed by the Steelers 38-7. They did beat the Colts, and the Colts and Titans are pretty close, even though because they each split a game the last 3 weeks. I think they need another big win, and you're right. This is a very important game for Cleveland to say, hey, we're legit. Because if they get blown out here, they're going to be this, and then they lose to the Ravens next week, they're going to be 8-5, and no one will take them serious, even though they're 8-5.
Yeah, exactly. And Tennessee, a must win here because we don't want the Colts winning. They want to secure this division. And I think it's a very important win for the Tennessee Titans. I think they got the momentum. I think Henry's in the groove. I'm honestly excited about I'm excited about Tennessee. I know you're not as high on them, but I think they are a better team than they were last year. I think they're more in the groove. They're more settled in because Tannehill didn't really get going till like week 4 or 5 last week, like 6, right? So he got going late last year. This year, you got a year under the belt. They're more into a groove. I think they look good. They're going to beat Cleveland this week. 6-point favorite. I'm taking them.
I mean, it should be a good running matchup. Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Derrick Henry. Cleveland has an excellent running game. I mean, Chubb has 719 yards. And how many games? He missed a few games.
Yeah.
He's playing phenomenal. Kareem Hunt came in, had some big runs. I mean, they have Mayfield. This is the problem. And this is what you're going to see. Your boy Tannehill versus Baker Mayfield. That's what it may come down to. Who can make the big throw on third down? Who can make under 2 minutes? You're down 17-14. Who can come back and lead their team? Which one of these guys? It may come down to those 2 players in this game.
I don't know. I got money on the Titans here for this one for sure. All right, next matchup here. This is a weird one. I mean, Miami 11.5-point favorite over the Bengals. I mean, that's a little crazy.
Yeah, Miami, like I said, I mean, Tua, I guess he hurt his thumb.
I think he's going to play. I think he might play.
Yeah, the Bengals, I mean, they gave the Giants a fight, and they actually could have won that game with, Brandon Allen. I mean, but they did have a kickoff return for a touchdown, which kind of like you felt like the Giants were going to run away with it in the beginning. And then all of a sudden the Bengals have a kickoff return, right, for a touchdown.
Yeah.
And it kind of like after that, the Giants looked great on their opening drive. They gave that up, and then it was like a shitty game the rest of the way. So I'm not sold on the Bengals at all, neither are you or the rest of America. But I'm not sold on the Dolphins either. I told you that. You look at their schedule. Like we've looked at the schedule for Miami.
Yeah.
I mean, they play the Jets and the Bengals, and we said they're probably going to be 8-4. Okay, I don't care. Then you play the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Raiders, and the Bills. Show me who you are, Miami, the next 4 weeks. I don't care about this game. And with Fitzpatrick, he looked terrible last week. They won 20-3 because the Jets stink.
Right.
You need Tua. He's a better quarterback. But who do you need to win this game? It doesn't really matter. You're right. They should win this game. But like we said, quality wins. I mean, I know they beat the Cardinals and the Rams, but their defense steps up. And that's what's been keeping them in the games and really winning the games for them. So look for them to beat the Bengals. Could be 23-6, could be 23-10, something like that. It's not going to be a blowout. I mean, a blowout in that sense, but I don't think they're going to put up major points.
Yeah, 11.5 points is a little extreme in regards to the spread. Brandon Allen, not terrible. 17 completions, 29 attempts, 136 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, he's just getting into it, right? And it's Brandon Allen. We're not expecting huge things. So, I mean, as long as he kind of has a safe game here, they can keep it closer.
Yeah.
11.5 for Miami. I mean, it could be one of those games. It could be a huge blowout, or it could be a close game. Like this is a game I'm probably going to stay away from all angles here. If I'm putting
high spread.
Yeah, I'm staying away. All right, next matchup here. I mean, this is stupid. I don't really care for the Jags at all. I know you're a big guy.
I'm not anymore without Minshew, but look at their game. They're playing teams tough. They're not winning, but I mean, they gave the Packers fits, right? They lost to the Browns by 2. They were in that game. I think they went for 2 at the end to tie it, right? Am I right?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, the Steelers, they got crushed by, but the Packers, the Texans, I mean, the Browns, they've been playing teams tough sometimes. Yeah. They can't win, though.
No, I'm not pulling it out. And then Dalvin Cook, again, it's like everyone in fantasy is like, I love Dalvin Cook, and he's been playing well. Problem is always like, I mean, a lot of running backs are like one play away from like a catastrophic injury, but you always see him. Oh, Cook is limping up. Oh, Cook's on the side. Like he's right there. He's right there from breaking. Like it's scary to own Dalvin Cook in fantasy. And
I get it.
And then the coaching is saying that he's basically, what they say, quote, well, there's a quote on him saying that let me find the exact quote, something along the line of like he's barely hanging in there or something along the line.
I don't know. It's later in the season. Maybe that's wearing on him like last year.
No, right here. Gary Kubiak said on Tuesday, he's just kind of beat up. What does that even mean?
I mean, listen, they gave him the ball the last 5 games, 30, 22, 30, 27, and 18 times. That's just the last 5 games.
Yeah, he's
30. You don't see that much anymore. Those true workhorses, and that will wear on you. I don't care who you are, right? Especially a guy that's more electric like that and has had a little nicks and bruises throughout the year, but he's had 219 carries already. I mean, he's getting the ball.
Yeah,
with injuries, right? He missed a game. Did he miss a game? I'm not sure, but it's tough, man. Minnesota, they're the team that like they lost to the Cowboys. Remember a couple of weeks ago, they should have blown out the Panthers this week. They let the Panthers in it. I don't like the Panthers. You know that they're not that good. Minnesota's 5-6, inching their way into the playoff race. I mean, they always are they going to have a letdown like they did against the Cowboys? That's the question. Because they beat the Packers. They beat, they can win some games, but they also, they don't have a great defense. Kirk Cousins, is a couple interceptions away from, keeping Delvin Cook out of the game and not, they have to control this game. Jaguars, I mean, who are the Jaguars? I mean, the rookie running back over there, he's actually playing pretty good.
James Robinson's good.
Yeah. He's good, but they don't, and their quarterback, he's nothing special. Oh, they got Glennon starting again. I mean, see, that's the problem. I mean, he made a couple throws, but they fired their GM. And here's the thing, fire your fucking coach.
Yeah.
Marone stinks. Like, why are you going to fire? The GM has had some decent players there. He stinks too. He needs to go, but they have no organization there. The structure sucks. Probably need new ownership. That's a different story. How do you have all these star players that want out? Jalen Ramsey, You know what I mean? Yannick Ngakoue. That other guy that got out of there before.
Leonard Fournette, but he was booted.
Still, like, it ruins everybody's career playing there. Like it's like then they had Tom Coughlin like to bring in as a president. It was hard. It's just a poorly run organization. And I mean, listen, they're 1-10, Joe.
I know it's not good.
But if the Jets get a win, this might come down to a tiebreaker for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
If the Jets can eke out a win, can the Jets actually eke out a win this year?
I don't know. Do they want to? And that's why they're keeping Gase on board. That's why they got Gase. They want to keep losing.
Well, you know what? They got the Raiders, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Browns, and the Patriots. So, I mean, they almost beat the Patriots. I mean, that's not easy. Like, they don't have the Bengals or any NFC East teams on the schedule. So, I mean, this might come down to Trevor Lawrence, the Jets and the Jags. It looks like it's going to come down to, and I don't know who would win that tiebreaker.
So the Jags got to keep losing, and the Jets just got to win one, right?
And then it's a tiebreaker, and I don't know what's going to happen in that. But you can easily win a game or two in the NFL when you don't want to. Like, what if like, you're playing the Rams and Goff gets hurt, or the Browns and Mayfield gets hurt? I mean, they almost beat the Patriots. You can easily sneak a win in there, right?
Right. Good point. That's good. All right. Listen, Vikings should have their way here. But again, Jags can be scrappy at times. So, I mean, what has Glennon got to lose? I didn't even know he was in the NFL. So he's getting this revival. He's like, oh, my God, I get to actually play. I thought, again, Glennon, I haven't heard his name for years. I mean, I didn't even know he was in the NFL still. So that's pretty.
You know what? Let's on the number one pick in the draft. This is important this year because Trevor Lawrence is a franchise changer. He's probably better than Burrow. They play the Vikings, the Titans, the Ravens, the Bears, and the Colts. I mean, that's a tough schedule. I don't think they can beat the Bears because the Bears defense, but you figure what's the winnable game on here? Either the Vikings or the Bears for the Jags. The odds are they're going to have one win this year.
I think they're going to beat the Bears.
I don't, the Bears are playing so bad, but we'll go over that at the end when we do the power rankings. They're still in the playoff race. It's amazing.
All right. Let's move on to the Rams coming off a loss. Both teams coming off a loss. Rams and the Cardinals. Kyler Murray looks okay, looks good in a lot of games. But again, I don't think they're there yet. I really don't. And again, the Rams, I mean, who knows? They got a good offense. Defense is good too. They're pretty, they're good all around. I think their running game needs some work. I mean, 3-point favorite here with the Rams. I can kind of see that. I definitely understand that. 7-4 versus 6-5. I hope the Rams have their way with the Cardinals. Again, I'm not a Cardinals fan. We know that Larry Fitzgerald's got the vid, or he's getting over the vid. Not that he's a huge factor in this game, but just to make you aware of that. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I told you last week I took the Patriots. I thought they'd, contain Murray, and they did. I mean, they kind of just contained him. He went 23 for 34, 170 and a pick. And they tried to make him beat them other ways, and they were successful. They won it at the end with no time on the clock. And the Patriots aren't a great team, but they can beat teams up, and they could outmatch teams. Cardinals were overrated, right?
Yep.
Rams more surprised me because this is what we talked about last week. You see these tease teams. They start teasing you. They win a couple games. Then like you're waiting for them to win another one. And all of a sudden they lose to the 49ers. It's like, come on, and then I think they had a defensive touch. They just played terrible.
Yeah.
I think Sean McVay, I mean, you're seeing he's not as good of a coach as people thought. Goff obviously has been a little overrated. They are still 7-4, still give them credit.
Yes.
They're not taking that next step. I mean, they could have kept up with Seattle. You're right. The running game, I mean, Cam Akers had 9 for 84. Maybe get that more involved, but they just couldn't do anything. And they've had games like that this year, which is pretty sad.
Right.
I mean, like you said, they won 2 in a row. They beat the Seahawks and the Bucks, and then they lose to the Niners. All of a sudden, you're thinking, we got this. Like, we're going to overtake the division. And I told you I don't love the Cardinals. I think this division is kind of crazy. I mean, this division is nuts, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
you have Seattle at the front right now at 8-3. And they had those 2 bad losses in a row. The Rams at 7-4, the Cardinals at 6-5, and San Fran at 5-6. I mean, San Fran's nowhere near healthy. If they were, you got to be saying to yourself, they're the best team in this division. I mean, you have to.
Seattle is.
Well, if San Fran was healthy, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. But they're not.
Don't know. Yeah, maybe if they had everything in play.
I said this earlier in the previews. This is the best division in football, and that was no surprise. I mean, we said this was the worst. The East and the NFC was the worst. I'm sorry, this was the best, and the East was the worst. So you're seeing it, but I think it's the Seahawks followed by the Rams, followed by the Cardinals, and I mean the Niners now. I don't know. what's going to happen with them.
Did you, a little off topic here, but did you see that post I did on my Instagram with the quarterbacks or no?
No, I didn't see that.
So basically what I said, it's actually kind of funny. I said every team is in the NFC East is now using a backup quarterback. Colt McCoy, Alex Smith, Andy Dalton, and Carson Wentz. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't see it.
No,
Well, Dalton.
What's that?
Oh, Dalton. Yeah, Dalton's a backup.
Yeah, but the thing is, Carson Wentz is terrible. We'll talk about that later. But the point you're trying to make is this is one of the best divisions with the Seahawks, Rams. It's a good division. Then you've got one of the worst, the NFC East. I mean, how bad is that division? Honestly, it's terrible.
It is. I mean, you know, it's funny. You have 3 first-year head coaches, I think, in that division, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, the Giants, Washington, and the Cowboys. McCarthy looks terrible. I mean, he called that fake punt on Thanksgiving, and it's like they were in the game until then. Like, and then all of a sudden, it's just like, what are you doing? And then they all of a sudden get all those points. He's terrible there. I mean, the Eagles, I don't. We could talk about them when we talk about them soon. But I told you this early in the season. That's a surprise firing that could happen. They get worse every year. Him and Howie Roseman. I don't care if they win the Super Bowl. They had Chip Kelly. They demoted Howie Roseman a few years ago for Chip Kelly. They never loved Howie Roseman. So they need to clean house. Washington just got Rivera, and they look the most promising. And the Giants are playing hard, but Joe Judge makes questionable decisions sometimes. The way he fired his O-line coach. He brought in an O-line advisor. I think he's a little power trip sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I always said, I think he's better for the college game. But I think eventually if he can figure it out and not turn into a Matt Patricia and maybe into like, you know, a little different kind of coach. Because, you see these guys coming from the Patriots and they all try to be Belichick. They all try to be that guy that just like wants to be an ass.
Yeah.
They don't get a lot of respect that way because they haven't done anything. And Belichick, I mean, he's not an ass so much when you're playing for him. It's hard. It's hard to play for him. I've had guys who played for him and then, you know, it's a lot of work and you have to be smart and you have it like everything's more in depth. You know what I mean? But he's not like treating you like shit. And you get all these guys that come on a power trip and they make you run laps. They make you do this. Like,
right.
You know, and I think Patricia had that in him. And you know what they say? Like Belichick, remember, he was okay in Cleveland his first go around, but he didn't succeed his first time in the NFL. So maybe like a guy like Patricia, I don't know if he'll get another shot. Sometimes they say your second go around, you learn a lot from your first, you know?
All right. We got to move on here to the Eagles and the Packers. This is an easy one. Packers should win this at home, 9-point favorite. There's no real debate here, is there?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the Eagles, like I said, even you can blame anything you want on Carson Wentz. He's not playing well. We know that. He's an average quarterback, above average sometimes. Look at the number. I mean, that's what he is. He's not great, but an above average quarterback, right? With no offensive line, no wide receivers, and a horrible coach and play calling is going to be below average. So he's average. He's not worth the money he got. No, he's not. No. But he's not great either. But he doesn't suck on a good team. If he has a supporting cast and a good coach, he can succeed. And he's never going to be elite in you know, that perennial Pro Bowl guy or that top tier. But he's not horrible. It's just the whole team is horrible. It makes him look horrible. He still makes, but you got to look at it this way too. His turnovers got to stop. Like, I don't think he knows how to manage the game in this situation, which kind of takes him down a few notches to playing like a very below average, even with the supporting cast, which kind of is disappointing.
Yeah. And then Aaron Rodgers, I mean, with him, they've been looking good. And I think when we talk about power rankings, if they just get it going, like looking at just from a fantasy perspective, Aaron Rodgers looks amazing this year. I mean, when you look from a touchdown point of view, he leads right now in touchdowns. So Aaron Rodgers looking good. Everything, his interceptions, only 4 interceptions. I mean, as long as they manage the game well, I mean, this could easily be a blowout against the Eagles. Yeah,
their 3 losses came to the Bucs. They got blown out. The Vikings, they lost by 6, and the Colts came back and beat them. So you're always waiting for Green Bay to kind of blow a game, though, because they remember last year in the playoffs, they're like, you know, this is Rodgers going to take them. Then they get beat up by the 49ers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they got the Eagles, the Lions, the Panthers, the Titans, and the Bears left. So you would think the toughest game on that schedule is the Titans, and you know they could easily be 12-4 going into the playoffs. But I think when they get in the playoffs, you're going to see a different team. I don't know, but you should see them cruise through a victory here.
And just a note, he is the best quarterback with the highest passer rating right now, Aaron Rodgers at 117.57. Just behind him is Pat Mahomes at
You know,
115.53.
they're talking about him. I mean, nobody's talking about the backup quarterback they drafted in the first round, and they don't even use AJ Dillon, their second round pick.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's two ways to look at that in my experience in football. If you're a great team, you don't need to rely on your first or second round pick. It's probably going to be lower in the round, number one. Number two, a lot of teams that win Super Bowls, go back and look, how has their first round pick impacted them? Go back 10 years and you see sometimes, it has had zero impact. But you see nobody talking about that. Now imagine if they used, then that's also bad because you want to get it for the future, but you want your first round pick to contribute year one. Now I get it when you take a quarterback, but imagine if they did take somebody to help him in the first 2 rounds, or they are still lacking. I think like, even if they got another offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, beefed up the middle, but they don't help him. Like they didn't do anything to help him this year. And I think that pissed him off.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't really need Love in the first round. That was a crazy pick, and they got ridiculed for that. They didn't even need AJ Dillon, but they got him, right? So
no, and I don't think he's that. I mean, I think Dillon can be good. He hasn't gotten the opportunity, but I don't think Jordan Love is that good. He had a good sophomore season at Utah State, didn't have a good junior season, came out anyways, and I mean, an okay junior season, but he's not a great player. I don't know if he's. I mean, maybe he will, but I don't think so.
No,
but you still got to see him play. And that's the problem. You get these guys that come into the league and you get these like coaches, whatever, that come into the league and they want to like revamp, they want to do like Matt LaFleur. He wanted to change it up a little bit here. He wanted to get his quarterback of the future. And, you kind of like forget you got Aaron Rodgers, at the end of his prime, and now you put a chip on his shoulder. But that's the problem with Green Bay, though. Perennially, they're not big players in free agency either. Now, remember how they tried to get Will Fuller at the trade deadline, but they didn't want to give up a lot or sign him to an extension, a reasonable extension. So you're seeing a lot of issues with Green Bay, like kind of filling out the roster, making it a Super Bowl roster. And that's what separates them. And that's bad management.
They're just adding depth, I think. That's what they want to do. But
yeah, they're adding depth, but you need to get more players around you. It just makes sense because you're so close to competing. And you can say they're competing now, but come on, they got manhandled by the Niners. I mean, it wasn't even close. They're not. They're just not.
Yeah, you're not optimizing your team by doing that. If you got Love and Dillon when you already have Aaron Jones and Rodgers, I mean, you don't really need them, right? I mean, better defense. You could have got some better defense help.
See, that's the thing. You see it now. Look at what the Ravens did. I forgot in the Chargers even got the middle line. They got a linebacker, and the Ravens got a linebacker. They got 2 of the top linebackers, and they're like already freaking in the running for Rookie of the Year. I forgot their names off the top of my head. But when you get a guy that's a game changer, just take the guy and do it. You know what I mean? Like, I think they could have got that too. I don't know. Like, I forgot off the top of my head who they were, but you see what happens when you get a guy that can make a difference on a team.
Right.
Like, it's just pretty sad. Keith, I think it was Kenneth Murray, the Chargers got. And then Patrick Queen, like Baltimore. I'm not saying the Green Bay needed a linebacker or not. I'm not analyzing them, but the guy's a stud. Like, he's a stud. That's why Baltimore drafts well every year and their defense keeps them in. Imagine if Green Bay had a defense. But anyways.
Yeah, I mean, they would have won that game easily with Dalvin Cook running all over them that week. They lost to.
Yeah, they draft. I mean, it was a stupid draft for them, I think. I mean, maybe in 5 years, Jordan Love wins 2 Super Bowls. We don't know. I doubt it. But it looks like, they
now you just need a little bit of an edge, and they could have got that in the draft. All right, so we got to go here. Seattle versus the Giants. Seattle, I don't see a line here on this one. Seattle's going to have their way with the Giants, I think, in this one.
Seattle and the Giants, I mean, yeah. I mean, I would think so. I don't see any.
I told you this, and I said that Seattle lost a few games, and they'd be bouncing back.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. They had their little, their cuts and bruises. Now they're back. Look for some wins moving forward, and I think they truly are a contender to win the whole thing. I mean, look at the schedule next week. They got the Giants this week. They've got the Jets the week after.
With the Giants.
What's that?
Colt McCoy's starting for the Giants.
Still, I mean, they're gonna beat the Giants. They're gonna beat the Jets. They're gonna beat the Washington football team in week 15. And then I don't even know who they're playing week 16. They're playing the Rams. So they've got 3 games here where they could really lock up this division and win the next 3.
Yeah, they can lock it up. They're still 1 game ahead of the Rams, but you're right. They're in position to lock it up. It's like anytime you see an NFC East team or the Jets or something, like, you're looking at W's. So you're right. They should be able to lock this up and run away with this game this week.
All right, I want to talk here about the Patriots and the Chargers and their terrible play calling. If you watch that game, I think it was last week, it was like, I can't remember the exact score, but the scenario was they had like, let's say 20 seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
And then they run the ball and they get stuffed and they didn't have any timeouts left.
No.
They could have threw it in, right? Had at least, 15, 20 seconds left, onside kick, and had a chance. But they're running, like, it was just bad play.
Or they would have kicked the field goal right away.
Or something. Yeah.
I mean, you're wishing and dreaming at that point, but you're right. And this goes back to what I've been telling you all year long. Fire Anthony Lynn. He is not a good coach. He's a good person. People like him. He's not a good coach. He's just not.
And we're talking about another quarterback that's good in a bad situation, right? I mean, you put Herbert on the Chiefs. He wouldn't be Pat Mahomes, but he'd be good. He'd be better, right?
Yeah, I think you put him on a lot of other teams, he would improve them. And I mean, he's only a rookie, but honestly, you need to fire the GM too. I just don't think they're built well. They're not built to win in my, like, when you look at the roster. Listen, they made the stupidest decisions they make are, Tyrod Taylor, like, who brings him in as a quarterback? He stinks. Number one. Number two, and listen, Tyrod Taylor's a great guy, he's a great character, but he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL. No, and against the team doctors for what they did to him. And I don't know if he would win anything because he's probably healthy and he's getting his salary anyway. Maybe he would get a little pain and suffering, but he's a good guy. He's a good person, but he's not an NFL quarterback. Then you badmouth your rookie quarterback, Herbert. He's a backup for a reason. And then you you do shit like this. I mean, you do not want to stunt the growth of your quarterback after this year. You cannot keep Anthony Lynn in this job. Herbert has a chance to be something special. It needs to be done now. You see what the Bills did with Allen. They brought in a coach. They had the coach there, but Brian DeBall as the OC. They had a good fit for him. And even with Greg Roman in Baltimore, like, he's a good fit for Lamar. But you need a guy that can help grow him, and they don't have that.
No, they don't.
And it's sad because you're right. And they can't win. All their games except for last week were by one possession. And it would have been if you're right. He runs the ball with 22 seconds left. Like, are you an idiot? Like, it's like Doug Peterson, though. He went for 2. Remember, he screwed everybody that took Seattle at 6.5. Why do you go you're down 14? Listen, I don't care if you succeeded getting it or not. Like, he goes for 2 for what? You're down 14.
Right.
I mean, for what? It's stupid.
Listen to this. So this is a pick 'em, I think, for this matchup. Now, the Patriots, they should have their way with it. They had their way with the Cardinals. It wasn't a huge blow at 2017. I think, again, you have the debate. Cam Newton, he'll never get back to 2014 or 15 form, whatever he had that big year. But he outplayed Kyler Murray, man. I know it wasn't by a big margin, but he outplayed him. I think he's going to carry some momentum going into this matchup. I think the Patriots are going to win this one.
I mean, they should win this one. I don't know what happened with Cam didn't play that well, though. I mean, he ran the ball a little bit. He can't throw the ball too much. It's like, I don't know what he's got going on right now.
It doesn't look like he'll never get back to that form back from 2014. I never see that.
2015, that was 1 year, but I mean, he's playing so bad sometimes. Like, he had 9 for 18, 84 yards and 2 picks. And, like, granted, he ran the ball 9 for 46. They didn't even run the ball well. I mean, no one over 50 yards. I don't know. I mean, they muscled them, they defense, and it's old school football.
That's it. They got the W. Yeah.
I mean, Murray was 23 for 34, 170 and a pick. I mean, he didn't play much better.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't play much better. Drake 22 for 78, which is 2 TDs. That's good for him. That's not great, but that's good. 3.5 yards. I mean, the Patriots the game plan was phenomenal. They held Hopkins 5 for 55. I mean, they beat them. They outsmarted them because Belichick's a much better coach and Patriots, they don't look that good, but I think they're stunting by having Cam Newton there. They stunt the growth of the rest of the receivers, and they don't even have Edelman or whatever, but I think they need to get some firepower on that team.
There is a chance they could win this division. If you look at it here, the Bills play the Steelers in week 14, right?
Yeah.
If they'll lose that one. They are playing the 49ers this week, and they are pretty hot. If the Patriots win this week, they win next couple weeks, and Bills lose. I mean, this could be a tight finish here, this division, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Patriots they almost have to win out. They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games left, right?
They're playing the Rams next week. It's a tough one, so that's not going to be easy for them next week.
No, but they can beat those teams, I think.
They could.
Those are the kind of teams they beat that don't put up a lot of points and, defensive matchup. And they could beat the Bills. They almost beat them earlier in the season. I mean,
the Dolphins a week 15. They can beat the Dolphins.
Beat the Jets. I mean, I guess like the Bills, I think the Bills are going to be too much because like the Bills are 8-3, right? What do you think? I mean, they got the 49ers. But see, I think the Bills can beat the Steelers. I think they match up well against them. I think Allen can evade that rush and put some points up. They got the Broncos. So if really looking at Buffalo, they have to win at least 2 of these games. So I mean,
but if Buffalo loses and the Patriots win the next couple games, they're in the run here. And one of those teams that they could beat is the Dolphins. And the Patriots actually play the Bills in week 16. So that could be a deciding game if that goes.
Look at it this way first. If the Bills win 3 out of the last 5 games, they win the division. I believe.
There you go. Yeah,
I think Miami can win out though, but they win the division, right? If they win 3 out of the next 5 games. So if the Bills win 2, the Patriots have to win out. And we're not talking about the Dolphins here because it could be something like that. But the Dolphins lost to the Dolphins already lost to the Bills and they lost to the Patriots, and they got to play both teams again. So the Dolphins aren't winning any tiebreakers right now.
Right.
So I think the Patriots really have to win out because do you really see the Bills going 1-4? I mean, maybe they lose to the Niners and Steelers, beat the Broncos, lose to the Patriots and Dolphins. I don't know. Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. With Bill Belichick, man, this is a division to watch. I wouldn't be surprised, man, because the Bills, I mean, they're good. We'll talk about it here in the power rankings, but there's still something in the back of my head, man.
Look at the playoffs. The Steelers are 10-0. Chiefs are 10-1. Remember, there's a bye this year only one team gets a bye. The Bills are the 4 seed at 8-3.
Right.
After the Titans, but the Titans and Colts that could flip flop. The Browns are the 5th seed at 8-3. The Dolphins are the 6th seed at 7-4. Then you have the Colts at 7-4. The Ravens at 6-4. But you're gonna have the Ravens win some games after. The Raiders are 6-5. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the Dolphins, the ball's in their court, but they're probably gonna lose some of those games. And Indianapolis will probably could sneak in, or the Ravens. I don't know if the Raiders. I mean, Patriots. You're saying maybe. I don't know. It's gonna be tough.
All right. The Sunday nighter, let's rip through this quick and then we'll talk power rankings. I mean, we don't need to waste time on this. Chiefs are going to win this game. Easy one. Broncos are still a disaster. 14-point favorite here. I mean, do we need to talk about this much? Tyreek Hill, Pat Mahomes on fire, Kelsey and Tyreek Hill combined in regards to receiving yards. I think top 2 receivers, man, when you look on a team easily, those guys are crushing it, man.
They'll win this game by a couple touchdowns. Broncos are, like I said, they always say it. They're in some games. They go in the 4th quarter. They're better than people think, but they just can't keep up with Kansas City. And there's rumors that they're firing Vic Fangio, the head coach, who's an excellent defensive coach, but they got injuries. I like Drew Lock. I think he comes back. He puts some points up against Kansas City, but Kansas City is going to be too much.
Okay, Monday we got 2 games, 5:00 Eastern, 8 p.m., 8:15 p.m. Eastern. We got the Washington football team versus the Steelers at 5:00. I mean, Steelers should have their way with these guys here. No? You think it'll be tight?
I think so, but I mean, Washington's playing okay. I mean, it's just how bad is the NFC East? Are they that bad? They look good against other teams like the Cowboys and other teams. So, I mean, they should. They're 10-0. Right now.
And much rest, right? Because they're playing tonight, which is Wednesday, so they're going to be kind of close, right? They don't have
the only thing if they get banged up tonight, or but I mean, this like Washington's, like I said, they're always going to play hard for Rivera. He went through the cancer. We've been saying that they're going to play hard for their coach. Now, if Alex Smith, like which Alex Smith are we getting? I know he's older, but if we said that before, he's the best QB on the roster if he's somewhat healthy. So if he can, have a rapport with McLaren and Terry McLaurin and some type of running game at least. Gibson played well last week, right? So, I mean, I think they have an outside chance to at least beat the spread in that game.
Yeah, beat the spread, but we'll see. Buffalo and the 49ers here. Again, Buffalo 2.5-point favorite on this one. This is one of those matches. Again, we talked about this. We don't have to spend too much time. Buffalo must-win game for them. 49ers coming off a game with the Rams. They're 5-6. They're going to try to do their best in their division, man. So very important game, more for the 49ers. So do you go with the team to cover the spread at, it's only 2.5 points, but, their back's against the wall, the 49ers, right?
Well, this is a game you circled on the schedule a long time ago before the injuries. This would have been a hell of a football game.
Yeah.
You're right. It's 2.5 points on the road. The Niners, they get those sneaky wins sometimes, and they got a good coach. Some of their weapons played well last week, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, they're 5-6. They're in the playoff hunt. I think the Bills are going to be too much to handle. Like I said, they blew out the Patriots injured. I mean, they beat the Rams. They had 3 straight losses, the Hawks, the Packs, and the Saints, and they beat the Rams. I was a surprise, but I think they're going to come back down to earth because Buffalo's just too good. That's what I think.
Yeah, Raheem Mostert, 16 attempts. He seems to be the workhorse guy. And again, with their wide receivers with the 49ers, I mean, Debo, 13 targets, 11. They've never really had any good receivers, right? That's the problem with them. I mean,
Well, they're not consistent. They got the trickery.
Yeah.
They got the inconsistent flash.
Right.
Like a Robbie Anders, guys that put up a big game.
Yeah.
But Buffalo's offense is a lot better than the Rams, and I think just Buffalo is going to be too much to handle.
And Mullins just not getting it done. I mean, if you look at week 12, he didn't even throw a touchdown. He had 1 interception that game. So I don't think they have enough on the offense to get it done against a Buffalo defense.
That's why it's important. If they can get out with the lead, Buffalo gets up like 10-0. I mean, I just think you can't rely on Mullen to throw the ball.
And the final game here, Dallas versus the Ravens. Do we need to talk about this one, really? I mean, Ravens,
have a healthy Ravens team coming back. I don't know, man. I mean, the Cowboys.
They could surprise. They honestly could. They pull stuff out of their ass sometimes, man.
That was the coaching that really fucked them last week. But I don't know. I mean, they were still in the thick of things in the NFC East. I mean, I think it's still going to come down to division games in that division for the title. But you think the Ravens should come out, especially I think the Ravens are going to lose tonight. They're coming off another loss. I think they'll come back and they'll win that game big.
I'm not liking the attempts here for Zeke. I mean, if you look at him, 10 attempts for Zeke Elliott last week.
Coach was horrible. I told you he's not a running coach. He doesn't like to run the ball.
Not a running coach. No. Let's move on. Okay, power rankings. Let's go here. So what do you got here? Let's talk about overall. So Steelers 10-0, Chiefs 10-1. They had that loss to the Raiders. We know the Raiders aren't a good team. So everybody has a bad day. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Saints 9-2, Seattle 8-3. We got Packers 8-3, Titans 8-3. So we got a bunch of teams at 8-3, including the Browns, Buffalo, Titans, Packers, Seahawks. Out of those ones there, so we're going to give our top 5 power rankings, like who we think are the best teams. Out of those 5 teams I mentioned, who is a pretender and who is a real team? I'm going to go right off the bat and say Seahawks is a real team and the other ones are suspect. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City's on its own level. I think Pittsburgh is right below them, like we said, even though they're undefeated. But I still like Buffalo and Seattle. I like Buffalo and Seattle. And then to me, I mean, the Saints, I'm still not completely sold on them, but I mean, they're 9-2, couple wins with Taysom Hill. I just don't see the Saints being better than even the Packers or the Seahawks.
No, I'm not really sold on them either. I don't know what it is about them. Tennessee, they're kind of surprising, but I don't know if they have enough juice to get it done. I don't know if they have.
They know.
I look at it as reserves, right? Like they do well, but do they have enough juice to push them over the edge? And that's why I think maybe the Titans could be pretenders. We'll see this week. Dark horses. I mean, there's the Ravens. If they start pulling out some strings of wins, they're 6-4. Indy, maybe a potential.
Tampa has a couple big losses. They're out of it now.
I don't know, man. They could come back. They could.
Well, they will, but I mean, right now you can't put them in there because they're not playing as well.
Super dark horse, the Patriots, like we talked about it. You never know, man. You can't count Belichick out, right?
You can't, but you're talking top 5. I mean, listen, you got to do Seattle, Green Bay, and New Orleans. You really
top 5. Yeah, I'm just talking dark horse here. I went off on a tangent.
Like dark horse the other way. Guys like Miami are going to slip. Cleveland's 8-3, but nobody would have them in the top 5 right now.
Right.
Dark horse, yeah. If they sweep the schedule and they go 13-3, right? Okay, so they could be a dark horse if they click, but I don't think they're good enough to be that dark horse. Last week I said the Raiders were, and I fucked up. I mean, they're not. They just you don't lose to the Falcons by almost 40 points. And
Here's my 5. KC, Steelers, Seattle, Green Bay, and then I'm torn between the Titans and the Bills. I'm going to go Titans here. I'm going to go Titans. So there you go. Chiefs. There you go. Chiefs, Steelers, Seahawks, Packers, Titans. That's my power ranking.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kansas City. I think is playing the best football right now.
KC over Steelers. Did I say that? Yeah, I meant KC over
KC and Pittsburgh. And then I'm going to go Seattle.
Yep, we're there.
I mean, Green Bay, I'm going to go Saints and Green Bay. I mean, I said Buffalo, but I can't because they got manhandled a couple too many times this year. by
Hold
Tennessee.
on the Saints. Something about the Saints. I don't know, man.
I know, but they're playing hot right now, so I'm going to give it to them while they're hot. I mean, they're 9-2. They're in line to get the bye in that division. I mean, they're 1 game up over the Packers and the Seahawks. So that's going to be an important bye, I think, don't you?
Yeah.
I mean, you think so?
Which one is this one? Sorry.
That's going to be an important bye. Who gets the 1 seed in the NFC?
Right.
Falcons and the Eagles and the Chiefs, Vikings and Panthers for the Saints coming up. So we'll have to see how it goes.
It's going to be interesting, man. I mean, again, I don't know if the Saints are going to adjust back when Breeze gets back. When does he get back? That's kind of my question mark with him. I don't know if Taysom's the guy to take him all the way, and I'm just not sold on that. And then when Breeze gets back, it's just adjusting back to the schedule. And then you got to look at the schedule. How does the Saints schedule look moving forward? Is it an easy one? Is it a tough one, right? They've got the Eagles, so they should take them out in week 14. This week is kind of in the air if Atlanta plays the way they played. I mean, so that's 2 wins right there. And then this is the question. Then they've got the Chiefs in week 15, right? That's not going to be an easy one for them. So I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting finish here down the stretch for all these teams.
Yeah, I think so. And then you see, we've been seeing a lot of teases. You win a couple games and then just drop one,
Yeah.
It's just no good. But, they just said today, right now, the Ravens, Dobbins and Ingram, unlikely to play.
Yeah, I heard Gus is starting. Yeah.
No, I mean, Ingram's a shell of his former self, and his former self wasn't exactly a perennial Pro Bowl player. So is that going to hurt them not having Ingram? No. I think all three of I don't think Ingram, I think Dobbins and Edwards, if they both got the main running back, they'd be fine. It would be nice to have Dobbins and Edwards, I think, a guy to be the workhorse. Edwards isn't bad if he can get the carries, but they're going to need some. I wish they had Dobbins in that game to make it a little more competitive, but they said they're unlikely to play.
All right, guys, that wraps it up. Head on over to manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLINE. Get your lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. Tom's got one. He shaves everything with it. Manscaped.com. Use promo code SHOWERLION. Again, guys, there it is. I can't believe it, Tom. Week 13.
I know.
Week 13. Remember, again, we were just talking about this. People are like, oh, there might not be a season, right? Like, we're week 13 already. Like, Christmas is around the corner. That's where we are. So, guys, enjoy the games this weekend. Enjoy the game tonight if you're listening Wednesday. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Smash the thumbs up. Leave some questions below for starts and sits for week 13. And we are out. Thanks, guys.